welcome to my little corner of Dog Days of Podcasting 2023 on YouTube Podcasts. Wouldn't be my first choice, but let's see how this goes. I figure if anyone is already listening, they know the score on Dog Days, so I'll just plow ahead. I don't know who, if anyone, played my promo directing people here today, but my heartfelt thanks to any who did. I'm recording this message you're listening to right now just before I post this episode, the rest of which I recorded and edited in advance. I've been looking ahead in the calendar, and it appears between house guests visiting us, Iris and I spending some time in Madison with my sister and her wife, and late in the month, a trip to the Minnesota State Fair, there are a few obstacles coming up. Even tonight turned out to be National Night Out, and I did that before coming down to the Measure for Measure shop. I was hoping to get ahead and schedule the publishing of some of those episodes to keep on track, but I suppose we'll see what actually happens later this month. I actually feel somewhat accomplished getting restarted at all, though I had been hoping for it to be in the regular feed. Anyway, I'll turn this over to the slightly less recent me, and I'll check in with you all tomorrow. Hello, I'm Paul Mackey, an Idjit with one foot in the past. Not too distantly in the past, however, just far enough back that my memories are faint or non-existent. We're going to the 70s. Not that 70s show, though I can see why you'd think that. No, we're going to watch The Rockford Files, which I handily enough have a box set of DVDs for the complete series right here. I'm particularly interested in the cultural artifacts presented. I have, as mentioned earlier, hazy real-life memories of some of the 70s, and not at all of the early 70s. I was born in 1973, so the pilot movie aired a couple of months before my first birthday, with a series premiere when I was roughly 1.5 years old. I'm hoping as the show goes along I'll spot things that will ring the faintest of bells. I'm also pretty unfamiliar with what network television looked like in 1974. Were all the women either mothers or temptresses? Were there people of color on this show with a white male lead? And if so, did any of them rise beyond cliché and caricature? I mean, that was a problem observed on Buffy in the 90s and Supernatural up close to the present, so I can only imagine. So I'll summarize, give high points and low points, talk staff, and hopefully a few other things each episode. As we get started, I should say I've watched the first 7 or so episodes a few years back when they were still on Netflix, though it was fairly passive viewing, pausing to fetch laundry, folding that laundry, or cooking or various other things while the show played. I wouldn't be trying to crack the mystery for these first episodes then, but I'll give it a shot. All of this I'm writing before embarking on the current viewing, by the way. I have the full series box set here on my desk. I know there are a series of follow-up movies, and I don't have those at this point. I haven't calculated how long I will be doing this, assuming a three-show rotation twice a week, but in any case, I have plenty of time to acquire them if I feel they are necessary. We are kicking off with the pilot movie. I know it was cut into 2 episodes for syndication package, but I'm not sure how it'll be presented here. The disc says Backlash of the Hunter Parts 1 and 2, which could mean anything. The syndication releases, the movie restored to its original condition, or something in between. I'll find out soon enough. The pilot movie aired, so far as I can tell, titled simply The Rockford Files, on Wednesday, March 27, 1974 on NBC at 8 p.m. 7 Central. It aired in a 90-minute time slot against CBS's The Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour, followed by Cannon, and ABC's one-season series The Cowboys, followed by a TV movie called Female Artillery. Well, I'm going to watch this episode and get back to you before you even know I'm gone. I'm back. Looks like this DVD set has the pilot in 2-part syndication version titled Backlash of the Hunter, but I've decided to watch both together for our purposes here. I'll let you know how awkward the split is, if at all. Okay, I'm going to go watch for real. A brief summary. A man is killed at the beach. He appears to be a random wino, but Sarah Butler hires Jim Rockford to look into it. The man was her father, and she's convinced it was not random. This leads Rockford deep into a case involving a Vegas wedding, a dead rich guy, an impersonation, and eventually an attempt on Jim and Sarah's lives. Alright, so I'm going to see if I can get by using just a little audio from the show on YouTube. If it didn't work, you'll hear my voice next.
This is Jim Rockford. At the tone, leave your name and message. I'll get back to you.
Billings, LAPD. You know Thursday is Chapman's 20th year, and we're giving a little surprise party at the captain's. I think you should come. By the way, we need $5 for the present.
So I'm wondering about this one. The opening of both parts of the pilot movie have that message, but I'm guessing the movie probably had an opening that is lost to time at this point, or no opening at all, and this one was created later for the syndication package. So, is this answering machine gag created for the syndication, or a reused one from later on? Are there over 100 unique answering machine gags? And if they reused any, will I even notice? I mean, even regular viewers had whole summers between seasons to forget what's been done before. Would they have even noticed? Alright, Who Is? For the Who Is segment, there are many people to choose from. I'll have a long time to get around to James Garner. So I looked at who is here just in this episode. First up would be Lindsay Wagner, the Bionic Woman herself, though this was her first TV appearance following her successful movie role in The Paper Chase, preceded by a series of single-episode appearances on television. Then I considered Bill Mumy, here as a young adult, following after his child career as Will Robinson on Lost in Space, and before working in the group Barnes & Barnes, producing songs like the inimitable Fishheads.
Eat them up, young!
I considered Robert Donnelly, appearing as Rockford's father, Rocky, only in this pilot. He did fine in the role, but they apparently always wanted his replacement in the role, Noah Beery Jr., but Beery had a previous series commitment that ended between production of the pilot and commencement of the series. So I'll go in greater depth on Michael Lerner, who just passed away April 8th of this year. Michael Lerner is a character actor, and when he appeared as the Las Vegas doctor in this episode, I immediately took notice, saying, "Oh, that guy." He appeared in several Coen Brothers films, most notably Barton Fink in the role of Jack Lipnick, earning an Oscar nomination for supporting actor. If you've watched Elf every year, you'll recognize him as the CEO of the publishing company. He played Arnold Rothstein in 8 Men Out and many other character roles in both movies and television, including Dr. Seelman here, but stretching back before the Rockford Files in shows like MASH, The Bob Newhart Show, That Girl, The Brady Bunch, among many others. And as a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I can't help but point out that his brother is Ken Lerner, who played Principal Flutie. Alright, next section is called This Aged Poorly. I was kind of casting about in my notes for a while during the first part of this episode. Rockford's treatment of Sarah was sexist at points, that kind of thing, until one moment stood out as the thing that definitely aged poorly. When a guy is taunting another guy into a fight, he could insult the guy's mother or call him dumb, like Rockford leads in with on the confrontation in the men's room, or he could just drop a big old slur, the way you just couldn't do on television anymore. I'm talking about the Q word, the word the gay community has pretty successfully taken back and claimed with pride, but I'll decline to repeat here. If I'd been drinking a beverage, I might have gotten a spit take out of me. Okay, the next section is called Totally 70s, and under Totally 70s I thought, all the cars, really? Except I saw them all as just old cars, and I couldn't really tell which ones were meant to be expensive high class and which ones were ordinary for the most part. There's probably car enthusiasts out there who'll be disappointed I do not appreciate some classic early 70s models. Also, Totally 70s, I'm not sure when TV shows stopped doing it, so it could be an 80s thing as well, but there's a collection of scenes from the episode that airs immediately before the show begins. A recap that comes before you see it. A precap, if you will. Okay, the next section is Artifactoids. This episode was packed with interesting LA location work, and I don't know if the series will carry on with such unique choices when pushed down into a weekly series shooting schedule. For example, there's Tale of the Pup, the novelty hot dog stand that looks itself like a hot dog on a bun. This LA landmark was built in 1946. It's an icon of a category that's apparently called mimetic architecture, but of course I just call really big things. Tale of the Pup was apparently almost demolished in the 1980s, resulting in a relocation, but still it eventually closed in 2005 and was warehoused for a number of years. It was then declared an LA cultural landmark, donated to a museum, and eventually purchased to reopen on Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood in July 2022. The aforementioned bathroom confrontation is supposed to occur in the bathroom of the Mayfair Music Hall, although it's probably a set. But the music hall was real. It was built as the Santa Monica Opera House in 1910, quickly renamed the Majestic, and began presenting films. In 1972, it was reimagined as a Victorian music hall called the Mayfair, where British-style musical variety shows were performed. Shortly before Rockford filmed, a little dance performance of Puttin' on the Ritz was filmed there for some movie called Young Frankenstein. Later, it housed LA's 2nd City Troop, but it was severely damaged in the Northridge earthquake of 1994, and the interior was gutted by the owner. In a Google Street View from February 2022, it is now apparently a shoe store. What worked? I think it worked well as a pilot for a detective series. There was a murder up front, a beautiful client who isn't telling the full truth, at least as far as being able to pay Jim. There were airplanes and machine guns. There was a somewhat hasty hookup between PI and client that was probably mostly there to sell the series, and there were explosions. What more could NBC ask for? And personally, I enjoyed the Los Angeles setting, the cultural landscape, if you will. I even liked the drugstore interior where Bill Mummy's character Nick worked. If there didn't end up being all those landmarks later on, I'd been preparing to see if there was anything I could say about the products in the background. They were in the dental care aisle, apparently. What didn't work? I didn't really get Jerry Grimes' connection to the widow Elias. I understood he had a stake in the crime itself, but it was less clear why he was still around working for her, especially the way he was treating her. I guess I was assuming she had more power, but I suppose that assumption is grounded 50 years in the future from the setting of this episode. So, that's it for the first episode of the Rockford Files. Hopefully I can find enough tidbits in subsequent episodes to keep this interesting. There are only 118 episodes to go, and 8 follow-up films from the 90s. Whew. Alright, next time we check into the 1970s, we'll begin the series proper with the episode titled The Kickoff Case. Happy hunting! You have been listening to the One Idjit's Thoughts On podcast, produced by Paul Mackey in association with quadruplez.com. Theme music is Too Good by Jack Mangan and is used by permission from him. If you would like to hear other podcasts by me, you might try the Ghostlight podcast, a completed introcast about the TV series Slings and Arrows, or Idjitcast, an introcast for the TV series Supernatural. Both can be found on fine podcasting listening software everywhere or at quadruplez.com.
Life is tough, but so are we. Let's make our own memories.
So her shop was really a bikini shop? Just one kind of garment.